6. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Garamendi of California.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
Five-minute voting now on amendments. Members are on the second of 6 votes on the Energy and Water Project spending bill by Congressman Garamendi of California. Would increase funds for the Advanced Energy Research Projects Agency by $329 million. The Associated Press reporting survivors of the Boston Marathon bombing will be looking on today as Dzhokhar Tsarnaev makes his first appearance on charges of carrying out that bombing. The 30-count indictment also includes charges covering the slaying of a police officer. In all, 17 of the charges carry the death penalty or life in prison. By the way, there are 2 congressional hearings on the Boston Marathon bombings today. The House and Senate Homeland Security Committees looked at some of the lessons learned during those investigations. Those hearings we have available on our website. Go to the C-SPAN video library. Go to cspan.org to watch those.
On this vote, the yeas are 155, the nays are 266. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is a request for a recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Brown, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Brown of Georgia.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
This next amendment eliminates the $6 million allotted to the Advanced Technology Vehicles Manufacturing Loan Program, transferring that money to the spending reduction account. These are 5-minute votes. The remaining votes in this series, 5 minutes. This amendment, by the way, offered by Congressman Paul Broun of Georgia.
On this vote, the yeas are 165, the nays are 252. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Ms. Jackson Lee of Texas.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
Three amendment votes remain in this series. The House then expected to go into recess to accommodate Republicans holding a meeting this afternoon on the way forward on immigration legislation. Members will return at 5 for further votes on energy and water amendments. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's amendment would increase Energy Department administration by $1 million and decrease nuclear weapons activities by $1.2 million. Again, these are 5-minute votes.
On this vote, the yeas are 183, the nays...
Mr. George Miller of California. Off no one aye for Mr. George Miller of California.
On this vote, the yeas are 184, the nays are 238. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Quigley, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Quigley of Illinois.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
Congressman Mike Quigley's amendment would reduce funding for nuclear weapons activities by $23.7 million, transferring money to the spending reduction account. This afternoon, Federal Reserve Chair Ben Bernanke is expected to make remarks at the National Bureau of Economic Research Conference in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We will have live coverage here on C-SPAN beginning at 4:10 Eastern.
On this vote, the yeas are 196, the nays are 227. The amendment is not adopted. The committee will be in order. The committee will be in order. The committee will be in order. For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition?
Request unanimous consent to speak out of order for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, we, the Arizona delegation, rise today in the wake of the tragic Yarnell Hero Fire that has left our hearts, the hearts of Arizonans, and the hearts of Americans across the country overwhelmed with disbelief and sadness. This was the largest loss of life of first responders since 9/11. The town of Yarnell and the people of Arizona will never forget and will forever honor the 19 heroes of the elite Granite Mountain hotshot fire crew who lost their lives in the act of self-sacrificing bravery. Out of my deepest respect for these fallen heroes, their families, and the communities of Prescott, Peoples Valley, and Yarnell, I ask you to keep them in your prayers. And I now ask you to join me and my colleagues for a moment of silence to honor the Yarnell 19's ultimate act of courage and sacrifice.
The members will rise and observe a moment of silence. Without objection, 5-minute voting will continue. The unfinished business is the request for recorded vote on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Nevada, Mr. Heck, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment offered by Mr. Heck of Nevada.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, the recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
The final amendment of this series is offered by Congressman Joe Heck of Nevada, dealing with nuclear weapons. His amendment would increase funding for nuclear weapons activities by $14 million and then decrease monies that are designated for defense nuclear nonproliferation programs by $16.5 million. The Associated Press reporting that Republican officials have confirmed that Mitt Romney is scheduled to attend an August fundraiser for the New Hampshire GOP, the first time the 2012 Republican presidential nominee will headline a political fundraiser since his November loss. This on the heels of Sarah Palin's remarks yesterday that she may run for the Senate next year in Alaska. Quote, "I've considered it because people have requested me considering it, but I'm still waiting to see what the lineup will be and hoping that there will be some new blood, some new energy." Former governor told Sean Hannity during an appearance on his radio show. That from Politico.
On this vote, the yeas are 86, the nays are 338. The amendment is not adopted. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee now do rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union, having had under consideration H.R. 2609, directs me to report that it has come to no resolution thereon.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration H.R. 2609 and has come to no resolution thereon. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the House will stand in recess subject to the call of the Chair.
The House returns at 5 Eastern for more debate on amendments to the bill setting more than $30 billion in spending on energy and water projects for next budget year. The House is taking a break so Republican members can hold a meeting about immigration legislation. The Senate passed a bill, but House Republican leaders say they will not bring that measure up in the House. This morning, Washington Journal talked with a reporter following the issue.
Care law. But first, joining us on the phone is Fawn Johnson, correspondent with National Journal, to talk about that. Talk about House Republicans getting together this afternoon